6:45, this is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The news edited by Dhanushka Madhavala, read by Soundit Havam. All arrangements have been made to celebrate the 76th Independence Day. A special traffic plan for Independence Day celebration rehearsals. The health trade unions temporarily call off their strike action. The Sri Lanka Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation records the highest profit in years under new management. The Sri Lanka Ports Authority receives brand new cranes to boost operational capacity at the East Container Terminal. In foreign news, the Western officials in protest over Israel-Gaza policy. In sports, Ireland claim biggest ever away win over France. The 76th Independence Day celebrations of Sri Lanka will be held at Goldface Green in Colombo tomorrow in a dignified manner, showcasing the proud history of the nation. It has been scheduled to commence the National Independence Day celebration under the theme, Let's Build a New Country, around 9 a.m. jointly by the Public Administration, Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government Ministry. All arrangements have been made to celebrate the 76th Independence Day, which will be presided over by President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of Thailand, Srettha Thavisin, will also participate in the 76th Independence Day celebration as a special invitee of the country, symbolizing the strong bilateral ties between the two countries for over centuries. The stretch of Gold Road from Kolupitia Junction to Goldface and from Ceramic Junction to Goldface will be closed in view of the rehearsals, and vehicular movement on several roads in Colombo will also be restricted until tomorrow. The road closure was effective from 6 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. from the 29th of January to the 2nd of February, and again from 2 p.m. on February 3rd, 2024, until the conclusion of the Independence Day ceremony on 4th February. The former Health Minister Kelia Rambukwala was arrested last evening in connection with his alleged complicity in the procurement of substandard human intravenous immunoglobulin. The arrest comes hot on the heels of mounting pressure from civil society activists and health sector trade unionists who have been calling for the immediate apprehension of the lawyer. The current Environment Minister arrived at the Criminal Investigation Department premises on Friday morning, complying with the court order issued yesterday. He was grilled for nearly 10 hours. The former health minister was supposed to make an appearance before the CID on Wednesday, but he failed to do so on account of attending the proceedings of a case heard before the Colombo High Court, as well as a ministerial subcommittee meeting convened at the Presidential Secretariat. Thus, Rambukwala had requested the CID to fix another date for him to provide his statement. On Thursday, the Maligakanda magistrate ordered the former health minister to appear before the CID to record a statement on his alleged involvement in the substandard medicine procurement scandal. The health sector trade unions have decided to temporarily call off their ongoing island-wide strike action by 6:30 a.m. this morning. A crucial discussion on this matter is scheduled to be held next Tuesday. The convener of the health union, Ravi Kumudesh, said the strike will resume on Wednesday if the talks fail on Tuesday. A collective of 72 trade unions from the health sector resorted to a one-day strike across the country Thursday morning, which continued for the second straight day, urging the government to address the issues concerning allowances without delay. The Doctors' Union and the All Ceylon Nurses' Union, however, decided to refrain from joining the strike action. In response to the island-wide strike, the Triforce personnel were deployed to the state hospitals across the country, depending on the requirements at each facility, to ensure uninterrupted provision of essential medical services to the public. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The State Minister of Indigenous Medicine, Sisira Jayakodi, said that the Sri Lanka Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation achieved its highest profit in years in 2023, recording a notable 195 million rupees. This achievement marks a significant turnaround for the SLADC, highlighting the positive impact of the new management's strategies. This profit is the highest since 2017, Mr. Jayakodi stated, emphasizing the remarkable progress made by the SLADC under its new leadership. He attributed this success to the implementation of effective measures by the new management, which have revitalized the corporation's operations and financial standing. The Sri Lanka Ports Authorities to receive brand new 12 STS gantry cranes and 40 ARMG cranes from China at a total cost of $282 million. 3 STS gantry cranes out of the above were received at the SLBC's East Container Terminal yesterday. The cranes will be installed at the East Container Terminal of the Port of Colombo. The cost of the cranes is borne by the SLBC. Zenhua 24 is en route to Sri Lanka carrying these brand new STS container cranes. In a ceremony held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday, Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage, the Commander of the Army, received commendation for his groundbreaking static parachute jump. The event, officiated by Sagala Ratnayaka, Senior Advisor to the President on National Security and the Chief of the Presidential Staff, along with EMSB Disanayaka, Secretary to the President, celebrated Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage as a dedicated and highly trained military leader. The placement of the parachute insignia on the Army Commander's uniform serves as a symbolic representation of this extraordinary accomplishment, signifying Lieutenant General Vikum Lienage's unparalleled dedication to pushing boundaries and leading by example. That concludes Local News.
The main news story is brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
The Cabinet has approved on paying of salary and allowances to the dependents of the deceased Tri-Forces personnel who had retired from service on medical grounds owing to terrorist activities during active service in the war prior to 19th of May 2009. Those deceased prior to reaching 55 years. Cabinet approval has been granted to the Cabinet paper presented by President Ranil Wickremesinghe with the intervention of the Defence Ministry. That came to you in the main news story.
The main news story was brought to you by Sinhala Vedamahatmya.
On to Watchlight. The Secretary to the President Saman Ekanaik officially inaugurated the Urumia National Operations Secretariat on Thursday at the President's office in the old Standard Chartered building. President Ranil Wickremesinghe's vision of empowering farmers through land ownership takes shape as the government announces plans to grant freehold titles to 2 million families. This initiative aims to address long-standing concerns regarding land rights in rural Sri Lanka. The government's plan to distribute 2 million freehold land titles to farming families has sparked discussions about its potential impact on rural communities and land ownership in Sri Lanka. This initiative, aligned with President Ranil Wickremesinghe's vision, seeks to address concerns about land security for farmers. And that's Watchlight.
Coming up, World News.
Making headlines this morning, Western officials in protest over Israel-Gaza policy. The US strikes targets in Iraq and Syria. China executes couple who flung 2 toddlers to their death. More than 800 serving officials in the US and Europe have signed a statement warning that their own government's policies on the Israel-Gaza war could amount to grave violations of international law. The transatlantic statement says their administrations risk being complicit in one of the worst human catastrophes of this century, but that their expert advice has been sidelined. It is the latest sign of significant levels of dissent within the governments of some of Israel's key Western allies. One signatory to the statement, a US government official with more than 25 years national security experience, told the BBC of the continued dismissal of their concerns. The US has launched strikes on 85 targets in Syria and Iraq in response to Sunday's drone attack on a US military base that killed 3 soldiers. US CENTCOM says its forces conducted airstrikes against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps, Quds Force, and affiliated militia groups. Quote, "Our response began today. It will continue at times and places of our choosing," unquote. President Biden said in a statement on Friday, 3 US soldiers were killed and more than 40 personnel injured in a drone attack at a US base called Tower 22. The White House blamed Iran and vowed a very consequential response. Iran denies the involvement, calling the accusations baseless and saying it was not involved in the decision-making of resistance groups. China had executed a couple who fatally threw 2 children out of their window of an apartment building. Zhang Bo, the father of the children, and Yi Shengzhen were previously found guilty of killing the 2-year-old girl and 1-year-old boy in 2020. Zhang had begun an affair with Yi and later divorced his wife and began conspiring to kill his children. China's Supreme Court had called the couple's motives extremely malicious, highlighting their cruel methods. The couple were executed in the southwestern city of Shanqing on Wednesday. It is not clear how the execution was carried out, although death sentences in China are mostly carried out by lethal injection or a firing squad. Back to the headlines of the world news. Western officials in protest over Israel-Gaza policy. The US strikes targets in Iraq and Syria. And China executes couple who flung 2 toddlers to their death. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
Moving on with sports news.
The Irrigation, Wildlife and Forest Conservation Minister Pavitra Vanyarachi said that the Wildlife Department has planned to declare 3 new wetlands in Sri Lanka as wetlands under the Ramsar Convention. The minister mentioned this while speaking to the media on the occasion of World Wetlands Day yesterday. The Wildlife Department has planned to designate the Viduthalathievu Nature Reserve in Mannar District, Adams Bridge National Park and the Chundikulam National Park in Jaffna as the new wetland zones in 2024. The minister further said that steps have also been taken to expand the Wankale Sanctuary up to Viduthalathievu National Reserve. That came to you in development news. And on to sports. Ireland began their Six Nations title defence in momentous fashion as they claimed their biggest ever away win over 14-man France in Marseille. Irish ties by Jamison Gibson Park and Tadek Byrne combined with France's Paul Williams' sending off had Ireland in a strong position after 30 minutes. Damien Penaud's try breathed new life into France just before half-time. But despite Captain Peter O'Mahony's yellow card, Ireland overcame their hosts to record a statement win. Having controlled the majority of the first half before Penaud's try, Ireland stretched their lead to 14 points thanks to Calvin Nasher's try. That came to you in sports news. We take a look at business news next.
Go ekakthiyana youth eකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
The U.S. State Department has approved the potential sale of 31 armed drones, missiles and other equipment to India for nearly $4 billion. The MQ-9B Predator drones deal has been announced during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to the U.S. in June 2023. In December, it was put on hold by a Senate committee pending investigation into an alleged Indian assassination plot on U.S. soil. The deal will now be confirmed after approval from the U.S. Congress. That's business news, economic news, up next.
Business News, sponsored by National Savings Bank, the safest place for your money.
Go ekakthiyana youth එකට life එකේ change එකට නියමෙට set වෙන්න ඇස් වහගෙන දැකපු හින හැබැ කරන්න youth එකට නියමෙට set වෙන friendship එක මෙන්න.
The all-new NSB Ithru Mithru account, NSB IM, a plan for your dream.
On to economic news, Deputy Speaker Ajit Rajapaksa stated that through the Sanasa National Development Programme, it is planned to strengthen the household economy of 200,000 family units by generating 50,000 new job opportunities. He also pointed out that local coordination committees can play a special role in achieving these development goals, which are carried out with the aim of developing 5,000 villages. The Deputy Speaker made this statement at the Ambalantota Local Coordination Committee meeting held recently. That's economic news.
Weather report.
Several spells of showers in the eastern and Uva provinces, also in Polonnaruwa and the Matale districts. Showers or thundershowers at a few places in the western and Sabragama provinces, also in the Kandy, Nuwara, Gaul and Matara districts after 2 p.m. Misty conditions can be expected at some places in the central and Sabragama provinces and also in the Gaul and Mathura districts during the morning. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. All arrangements have been made to celebrate the 76th Independence Day. A special traffic plan for the Independence Day celebration rehearsals. The health trade unions temporarily call off strike action. The Sri Lanka Ayurvedic Drugs Corporation records the highest profit in years under new management. The Sri Lanka Ports Authority receives brand new cranes to boost operational capacity at the East Container Terminal. Western officials in protest over Israel-Gaza policy. And Ireland claim biggest ever away win over France. On that note, we conclude this morning's news broadcast, and surprise, surprise, Ramesh behind the mic on a Saturday morning, and it's back to you, Ramesh, to keep the listeners entertained with your special blend of music on a beautiful Saturday morning. All yours.